The wind howled through the desolate streets of the small town as Oliver and his friends gathered around a campfire. They had been enjoying a peaceful evening, sharing stories and laughter, until a distant, haunting scream pierced the night air. Silence fell over the group as they exchanged uneasy glances. "Did you guys hear that?" Oliver asked, his voice quivering slightly. "Yeah, probably just some animal," Mark replied, trying to sound brave. But deep down, they all knew it was no ordinary sound. As they continued to debate, another scream echoed, this one closer and more chilling than before. "Okay, that's definitely not an animal," Sarah said, her eyes wide with fear. The group quickly extinguished the campfire and scrambled to their feet. The uneasy feeling in the pit of their stomachs grew as they realized they were being watched. Shadows danced around them, and the flickering streetlights seemed to play tricks on their eyes. "Maybe it's just a prank," Oliver suggested, though his voice wavered. Before anyone could respond, a sudden screech of tires echoed from a nearby alley. They turned to see a black van tearing out onto the main road, its tires leaving skid marks on the pavement. "That's not a prank," Alex muttered, his hand instinctively reaching for his phone. As if on cue, the sound of sirens wailed in the distance, growing louder by the second. The friends exchanged worried glances, unsure of whether to stay put or flee. Just as they were about to make a decision, a figure emerged from the shadows, stumbling towards them. It was a man, disheveled and out of breath. He collapsed at their feet, gasping for air. "Please, help. They're after me." "Who's after you?" Oliver asked, crouching down to help the man up. Before the man could respond, the screeching of tires filled the air once again, and the black van reappeared, its headlights illuminating the scene. The man's eyes widened in terror, and he pushed himself up, running with newfound strength. "Run. They're coming," he yelled, his voice echoing in the alley. Without thinking, the friends followed the man's lead, their hearts pounding as they sprinted through the dark streets. The van roared behind them, its engine growling like a beast hungry for prey. Oliver's mind raced, and he couldn't shake the feeling that this was more than just a random chase. As they weaved through alleys and side streets, Oliver's thoughts turned to their mysterious encounter. Who were these people chasing the man? And why did he seem so desperate for their help? Little did Oliver know, this midnight ride was only the beginning of a nightmarish journey that would test their friendship, courage, and survival like never before. The friends raced through the labyrinthine streets, the harsh breath of pursuit close behind them. The rhythmic thud of their footsteps seemed to echo the pounding of their hearts. Oliver stole a glance over his shoulder, catching a glimpse of the black van gaining on them. "We need to split up," he shouted, his voice laced with urgency. With a quick nod of agreement, the group veered off in different directions, each disappearing into the shadows. Oliver's heart raced as he sprinted through unfamiliar alleys, his mind racing to find a safe haven. His lungs burned, and sweat trickled down his brow as he finally stumbled upon an old, abandoned warehouse. Desperation fueled his actions as he forced the rusted door open and slipped inside. Gasping for air, he crouched behind a stack of crates, his heart pounding in his chest. Minutes ticked by, each one stretching into an agonizing eternity. Oliver strained his ears, listening for any sign of the pursuing danger. Suddenly, the sound of footsteps echoed through the warehouse, growing louder and closer. He held his breath, his fingers trembling as he clenched a piece of broken wood. The footsteps grew louder, and Oliver's pulse quickened. Just as he was about to make a dash for the exit, a voice cut through the darkness. "Oliver, it's me." It was Sarah's voice. Relief flooded over him as he cautiously emerged from his hiding spot. "They're still out there," she whispered, her eyes wide with fear. "We can't stay here," Oliver replied, his voice determined. "We need to find the others and figure out what's going on." With renewed determination, Oliver and Sarah navigated the winding corridors of the warehouse, their senses heightened to every creak and groan. They finally found Mark and Alex huddled in a dusty corner, their faces pale with fear. "We thought you guys were—" Mark began, his voice trailing off. "We're all okay," Sarah reassured him. "But we need to figure out who those people are and why they're after us." As they huddled together, their minds raced, trying to piece together the puzzle that had thrown their peaceful night into chaos. The man they had encountered, the black van, the relentless pursuit, it all seemed to connect in ways they couldn't yet fathom. "I remember the man saying something about them being after him," Oliver mused, his brow furrowed. "But why? What does he know?" Their whispered conversation was interrupted by a sudden crash from outside the warehouse. They froze, their hearts pounding as the sound of footsteps grew nearer. "We need to go," Alex urged, his voice urgent. As they hurriedly made their way to the warehouse's exit, a figure emerged from the shadows, blocking their path. It was the man they had encountered earlier, his face etched with desperation. "They're close," he panted, his eyes wild. "You have to help me." Before Oliver could respond, a chilling voice rang out from behind them. Too late. The friends turned to see a group of menacing figures stepping out of the darkness, their eyes gleaming with a predatory hunger. With nowhere left to run, and the truth of their situation finally dawning on them, Oliver and his friends found themselves thrust into a deadly game of survival, racing against time to uncover the secrets that had brought them into this harrowing midnight ride. The moon hung low in the midnight sky, casting eerie shadows across the deserted town of Willowbrook. Lancey paced nervously, his heart pounding with each passing moment. He had been waiting at the agreed meeting point for hours, but there was no sign of Emily. They had planned this midnight ride for weeks, a quiet escape from the prying eyes of their small community. As Lancey's worry deepened, he recalled the last message he had received from Emily, a cryptic text that read, "Meet me at the old mill, midnight sharp. There's something important I need to tell you." He couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. With his nerves frayed, Lancey climbed onto his motorcycle and revved the engine. The roar cut through the silence of the night, echoing off the crumbling buildings that lined the desolate streets. He rode towards the old mill, the wind whipping through his hair as his mind raced with thoughts of Emily and what she might be hiding. Arriving at the mill, Lancey's heart sank. The old structure was shrouded in darkness, its wooden beams creaking in the wind. There was no sign of Emily, only an eerie sense of foreboding that settled over him like a heavy fog. He called out her name, his voice echoing off the walls, but there was no response. Frustrated and anxious, Lancey searched the area around the mill, his flashlight cutting through the darkness. And then, in a pool of dim light, he spotted something that made his blood run cold. Emily's phone, abandoned on the ground. He picked it up, his hands trembling as he saw a series of missed calls and texts from her worried friends. Panicked, Lancey dialed Emily's number, praying for an answer. But the phone rang and rang, finally diverting to voicemail. His mind raced as he left a frantic message, pleading for her to call back. He knew he couldn't give up. He had to find Emily, no matter the cost. Days turned into agonizing weeks, and the once tight-knit community of Willowbrook was consumed by rumors and whispers. Lancey became a man possessed, tirelessly searching for any clue that could lead him to Emily. He combed through her social media, interviewed her friends, and even retraced their steps leading up to that fateful night. One afternoon, while poring over old maps of the town, Lancey stumbled upon a forgotten document in the local archives. It detailed a series of unsolved disappearances that had occurred in Willowbrook decades ago, all centered around the old mill. The story sent shivers down his spine as he read about the eerie occurrences and the unsettling legends that surrounded the place. Determined to uncover the truth, Lancey enlisted the help of his childhood friend, Detective Sarah Mitchell. Sarah had always been fascinated by mysteries, and she had an uncanny ability to piece together disparate clues. Together, they delved into the town's dark history, meticulously connecting the dots between the old disappearances and Emily's vanishing. Their investigation took them to the outskirts of town, where they discovered a hidden passage beneath the mill. As they ventured deeper into the underground labyrinth, Lancey's heart raced. They stumbled upon a chilling tableau: Emily's lifeless body, along with the remains of another young man. Their faces were frozen in expressions of terror, their fate sealed in this macabre chamber. Lancey's world shattered as he realized the horrifying truth. Emily and the young man had been lured to their deaths, victims of a twisted and malevolent force that had haunted Willowbrook for generations. Sarah called for backup, and the authorities arrived to process the grim scene. As the town grappled with the shocking revelation, Lancey couldn't escape the feeling of loss and guilt. He had failed to protect Emily, to save her from the darkness that had consumed her. Determined to honor her memory, Lancey vowed to bring the malevolent force to justice, to unravel the secrets that had haunted Willowbrook for so long. But as he delved deeper into the darkness, Lancey began to realize that some mysteries were better left buried, and that the price of uncovering the truth could be far greater than he could have ever imagined.